This is Justin, McKenna, and Colby doing capacitive touch for our CS255 final project. Up on screen right now is the code that we wrote. As you can see up here at the top, we're just defining some global variables. So as you can see here, there's the main function starts at this line. Everything above that is just establishing globals to be used in the routines and the interrupts. We use all of the timers for the capacitive touch sensing. So here we are just using the special functionality of the different timers, different pin functions. This right here is a trap so that if the 32K crystal oscillator is not on the board, it won't load into the rest of the function. Right here where we do this measure count, that basically takes samples of each of the input pins and then takes an average of those for a baseline measurement of the capacitance. And then down here is where the main loop actually begins. What this does is it essentially waits for an interrupt to happen. By pressing the button, you increment a counter, and once it hits a certain threshold, that registers as a button push. Down here, you can see the measure count function. This is actually what does the measurement on each of the pins. And then down here, the different cases for what the buttons will do. One will make one LED on the board come on, the other will make the other LED come on, one will make them both come on, and one will toggle them so they flash quickly. Okay, as you can see, we've got the hat mounted onto the top of the board there. There are 4 separate buttons on the little ring of the pad there, and then the center button also works. We've got the code loaded up, so as we start to touch these buttons, you should see the top one lights up both LEDs, the side one lights up the right side, left, and this one, it's hard to tell, but that is actually strobing when you hold down the middle. You can notice that I'm holding it by the power cord, and I loaded the code with me holding the power cord. This is so that we don't have outside interference. The capacitive touch measurement is very sensitive, and as you can, I'm going to try to see if I can get it to start messing up here. If you start touching locations on the board, that will register as capacitance, and as you can tell, I just touched it enough that it's interfered with the timing on it. So now it's registering that a button is just being pushed constantly. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's actually flickering around in between several of them. So this is one of the issues that we found when we were doing this. One of the things that we recommend is that we either use different buttons. We think that the peripheral hat might actually be causing some of that interference because the buttons are so close to each other. Might help to isolate them. Also, you know, we should probably have something that's holding this board, keeping it isolated. As you can tell, just like me touching it can start to mess with stuff. But once it locks into that, none of the functionality remains. So yeah, definitely an issue to be further examined.